You know when you're smelling the fresh morning dew and you're just thinking, I could really crack open a fresh manga volume right about now. And what better series to do that with than Vinland Saga, because this one is quite the treat. This is probably the best manga I've ever read, as you can see by the title. And I know a lot of people might be like, hey, what's going on here? You know, hold your horses just a moment. You just made a video a few months ago saying that Berserk might be the best manga I've ever read. And at the time, Berserk was definitely top tier for me, and it's definitely my top 5 at the moment. But as right now, after reading Vinland Saga, it's no competition at all. Vinland Saga is the best manga I've ever read, so I want to talk about it. But anyways, all hot takes about Berserk aside, let's jump into it. Alright, now for those of you who don't know, Vinland Saga is a manga primarily focused about Vikings, but I kind of wanted to, dive into that a little bit more, because even though the main focus for a large part of the series is about Vikings, and even though that's overall what it's about, it is a lot more focused than just Vikings. It has some stuff about the slave trade going on, it has some stuff about the monarchies going on, and it just has some stuff about people living their daily lives throughout this world at that time period. And I think it's really interesting how it really, immerses you into the world, and that was pretty impressive. Now I want to talk about the two big arcs in the series, because the two big arcs, we got the prologue arc, which goes from 1 to 4, and then after that we got the farm arc, which starts at the end of number 4 and then finishes at number 7. And I want to talk about both those arcs more in this video, because they're both very different. They're both very different focus-wise and tone-wise, but they're both amazing, because, the prologue, it's more action-focused, it's more focused on setting up the rest of the story, whereas the farm arc, it's obviously about farming, but it also is largely focused on more of the monarchies than the first arc did, and it's also largely focused on the slave trade which was going on, and I find both those things very interesting, and I think it really works as a good mesh for the series. Now I do want to mention some of the misdirection in the series, because at the beginning I sort of assumed that the overall direction of the series was going to be kind of predictable, and I kind of knew where it was going with the first arc, but at the end of number 4, there's a huge event that happens, and I'm not going to spoil it, but all I'm going to say is this event really changes the course of the rest of the series, and it really does result in some crazy chain reaction events that happen through 5, 6, and 7, and it really does result in one of my favorite character arcs in any manga I've read, with, Thorfinn's character arc in the farm arc, and it's some great stuff. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Anyways, now that that's all out of the way, let's talk about some slavery, because like I said earlier, there is a big focus on the European slave trade in the Scandinavian countries in the farm arc. And I'm not sure if the European slave trade was drastically different in other European countries, but as for the focus in this series, going on in the Scandinavian countries, I found it really interesting, because slavery in the Scandinavian countries was pretty different than slavery in early America. And really what I mean by that is the slavery in the Scandinavian countries was primarily about social class. It wasn't about race, because they were pretty much all the same race for the most part. And if anything else, it would be about nationalism, because they weren't all from the same place. They weren't all from the same country. If you take a look on the other side of the world with early American slavery, even though the social class discrimination was still there, I think that it was largely based on race for the discrimination, and that wasn't really something that took place in Vinland Saga. Next up, I really want to talk about Volume 7 of Vinland Saga, because Volume 7 really felt like a good conclusion to that arc, but it also felt like almost as if I finished a series, even though the series is still ongoing. And that's not really a bad thing. I'm not really saying that I'm never going to read Vinland Saga again, because I definitely really plan on picking up more of it. But it is a really good stopping point in the series. I know a lot of people don't want to read an ongoing manga, but if you're kind of worried about that, I would really recommend picking up 1 through 7, because after volume 7, it really caps off at a good point until you're ready to read more of it. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I know I didn't really go in depth onto every single topic about the series, and that's mainly because it's kind of hard to talk about Vinland Saga without spoiling anything. Nonetheless, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, drop a comment letting me know what you either think of Vinland Saga or this video, and how about we aim for a whopping 5,000 likes. 5,000 likes it is. In 2019, we're going to completely take over this platform. You know, this fan base has just been getting too crazy, guys. Last year at VidCon, Hank Green actually had to personally tell me not to show up just because the fan base was too crazy. But I actually came anyways, and it was a blast. It was well worth the risk. You know, the T-Dog crew, craziest fan base on YouTube. And with all that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.